something in so many ways, Mike. So I want to just throw some names at you and you tell me what we should reasonably expect about their futures in New England. And let's start with the obvious one. Let's start with Cam Newton.
Well, Greeny, everyone has loved having Cam Newton that I've spoken with in the Patriots organization, but eventually they're going to have to ask themselves the question if they can live with the limitations that they've had in the passing game this year, and also if they've put Cam in the best position to succeed with the weapons they've put around him. And Greeny, I'd also add this. Cam has a stake in this as well. He's spoken a couple times this season about how, he's away from his kids and he wakes up angry because of that. It's unknown if he would even want to stick around if the Patriots decided they wanted to keep working with him.
So at the risk of asking you to guess, which I know reporters never like to do, would you describe it as unlikely that Cam Newton is the Patriots quarterback next year?
I think that's fair, Greeny, and I come back to this. Bill Belichick has said over the years the two things he asks for in his quarterbacks more than anything: accuracy and decision-making, and those have been uneven, as we saw last night from Cam over the course of the year.
All right, so then the obvious next one I come to is Jarrett Stidham. How should we be looking at his future in New England?
Well, he has 2 years left on his contract, so he's definitely going to be here. The question really is in what role. And after so much promise as a rookie, and it looked like he might be the top candidate to replace Tom Brady, he couldn't even beat out veteran Brian Hoyer at the start of this year. So, Greeny, I think it's fair to deduce that the Patriots have some serious questions as to whether he can be a quarterback to build around.
Okay, and then that brings us to the offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels, who's been a head coach before. Clearly, we would expect there to be interest in him around the league this offseason. How should we assess his future in Foxborough?
Well, Greeny, he's on the record as saying he would love another chance to be a head coach if that opportunity presents itself. And one thing we've seen over past off seasons, he's been very selective in how he goes through that process. This year in New England, he's been sort of asked to build the house with not a lot of tools, and he wouldn't be human if he wasn't a little bit frustrated by that. So it will be intriguing to see how that maybe impacts his approach this offseason with any vacant jobs.
I get it. I feel like I need to ask you one more, and that is just simply this. You're around them as much as anybody. Is there any indication whatsoever that Belichick is thinking about moving on, retiring, or moving somewhere else, or going up to the front office, literally anything?
Zero, Greeny, and I would point to this. His son, Steven, is calling the defensive plays, and I think that means a lot to Bill Belichick. He loves that connection. His other son, Brian, is the safeties coach. I feel like it's almost all in the family here, and he really appreciates that and wants to keep going with it.
All right, outstanding, Mike. Thank you. That's a great question, Mike. I'm glad you asked that. Thank you very much, as always, for getting up with us here. We appreciate it. Let me go back to my crew here. And Ninko, he just basically said exactly what you said. So give me the same assessment of, well, actually, let's go as broad as we can. Rob Ninkovich is the starting quarterback week 1 of next year for the New England Patriots, currently on their roster?
No, he's not. No, he's not. And my question right now would be, why aren't the Patriots trying to figure out what they have right now on their roster? There's a difference between going into a game as, the backup quarterback that week you're doing scout team reps, and then during the game the starting quarterback doesn't play well, then you go in the game. So Stidham really hasn't had the opportunity to prepare for a game like you would if you were named the starter going into the week. So if I was the Patriots, I would want to know, okay, what do we have with Stidham here? Give him a week to prepare with the first team, get the first team reps, go into a football game and play as the starter from the start of the game, not coming into the third quarter when you're down 24 points or whatever they were down. So at this point right now, they need to figure out what Stidham can do for them so they can evaluate after the season's over what they have in the quarterback room.
And then on the other side of it, RC, I feel like you and I and many others were really sort of hoping that Cam Newton would have. Well, why are you making that face? I can't even ask a question when you're making that face.
Because I'm starting to learn something about Neek. We've had this question all year. Was it Bill or Tom? And it's starting to lean more toward Tom for me because that's the one that Rob seems to like the most. Tom can do no wrong. Throw 3 interceptions, forget what down it is. It doesn't matter. He's the GOAT. Bruce Arians, you bet not talk about my friend. But Bill obviously can't evaluate a quarterback or doesn't understand how to take the practice reps and say that this quarterback is not our future or that this quarterback is not the guy to lead us this year or to win us games this year because he won't start Jarrett Stidham. Well, if it's Bill, if you believe in Bill and what he's done, don't you think he can evaluate a quarterback? So it may not be that he has to see what Jarrett Stidham has. He may know. When you know that Jarrett Stidham didn't beat out Brian Hoyer at the beginning of the season, when Cam Newton was on the COVID reserve list, the starter of the game was Brian Hoyer. When you have played this year and thrown more interceptions than you have touchdowns, it doesn't matter if they give you a week to prepare. If they know you can't play, you can't play. So obviously New England feels like, and Bill Belichick feels like, Cam Newton gives them the best chance to win right now. And with me knowing that he feels that Cam Newton gives them the best chance to win right now, there is no way that the quarterback of the future is on this team. Because when you watch Cam Newton play, and I'm with you, Greeny, I was rooting for him. I bought me a Cam Newton jersey, and I hate everything about New England except for the fact that Tom Brady was super cool when I met him, and I had to call Troy and say, we've been wrong all this time. He just ate us up on the field. He's actually a nice guy. When you look at this team, it tells you that they are not prepared to take that next step, that Bill Belichick has to retool this thing, rebuild this thing if he wants it to work. And they keep talking about Steven and Brian calling the plays and coaching the safeties. They need to call plays and coach better because they lost last night because they couldn't stop a nosebleed defensively as well.
Yeah, they got run on last night. I got to leave this here. We'll do more on this.
I want to respond on this one. Come on.
I promise. Can we just do it? All right, Allie, I'm going to do it. Let him respond. Let's just do it, and we'll get to the Browns thing later. Go ahead, Rob Ninkovich, go.
I'm saying, RC, you know there's a difference now between the starting quarterback, benching your starting quarterback when you're in the hunt for the division now. So once they figure out that they're out of this thing, they're going to try and evaluate what they have in a game, a starting quarterback in a game. You know what you have with Cam Newton. You know he's limited in throwing the football. That's why they run the football so much. That's why in post-game interviews, Cam said, oh, I kept the ball because I was thinking about turning it over. I didn't want to have a bad play.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.